fine. So this will be a public show.
You are what?
Welcome to another episode of Command Control Power. We're back with you for a public episode here, and Jerry will be joining us in a few. Hey, Sam, how you
Hey,
doing?
can I just say that this, with this virtual background, I got like half a mic on the screen, unless
Oh
like I
yeah,
stand in front of it. I just want to call out that when we were at the conference in San Jose, Justin Esgar told me I should not have my mic in my face up here. He said it should be below or off screen. So I'm just I'm shoving this in the screen just for Justin in case he's listening to this
nice,
episode.
nice. Yeah, I'm sure he'll appreciate the mic coming in and out of
Yeah,
appearance there.
depending on
I
where I
try to put
stand.
mine. I put mine over here, so yeah, you
Yeah.
can like
I
yeah.
should put
So
it up,
it's
but I don't know how well I know nothing about audio, so we'll see how this comes out.
yeah. I don't think this mic placement is ideal really for either, and it's a subtle thing to try to put it close enough but not in frame or
Yeah,
yeah, especially with the virtual background situation because then you
right.
start things start moving, masking out or whatever. Anyway, so how's your week going? This is a short week for you. Did you work on Monday or
A little bit. I mean, I had some
same?
stuff to do, but we also moved my daughter into college for her senior year, so that was most of our
Oh
day.
wow, nice.
Yeah, and that's always fun, just lugging crap around. At
Sure,
least I have a teenage son that can lift stuff with me.
they
So
can help. Nice.
yeah, both
Nice.
kids were very helpful actually. So she knows where everything goes, and it was a
Yeah,
whole family affair. It was fun.
nice. Hey, Jerry's got his ad up behind him there. Mac Home
Nice.
Remote Support, easy as 1, 2, 3. And how did so? I remember you producing this. It's a great idea.
Yeah.
It looks like a subway sign. Subway lines 1, 2, and 3, and it
Is there
has yeah.
is there any gum under the railings there, Jerry?
Yeah, good question. Nice.
Probably.
Have you ever done any physical advertising in person? Like I wonder, Jerry, you just were telling the story on the Patreon episode about your visit to New York City and things like that. Can you imagine seeing your ad, like actually in the subway or something like that? I don't know that I would want that type of client inquiry necessarily. Like I don't want to just say like everybody call, because we have a specific kind of like niche, approach, and we're more of a boutique. We don't, and that's going to be really expensive anyway. But have you ever done anything like that, either of you guys?
I mean, I know I have. I'm curious to know, Jerry. I'll let you go first there, buddy.
Well, Sam, I know years ago you told a story about being on the show where you showed up at a Norwalk fair or something like that, and you had a tent set up.
Yeah, the
You had
Oyster
some
Oh
Festival.
yeah,
No one
little
showed up.
little little charging station. I did,
smart.
in the early days, I went to a couple of maybe photography things and had a little table set up. And it was during the days when the Drobo first came out. And
Oh
so I
yeah,
was running a video on my laptop, and the big Drobo dog and pony show was you could live pull out a hard drive while it was running.
right. And it
And
would
there'd
still
be,
play. Yeah,
yeah. But that could be easily faked. So every time anybody would
that's
come up
true.
to my table, I'd go like, no, but really, the movie's on the Drobo. The movie's not on my
Yeah,
computer. It's on the
right.
Drobo. But there
Yeah,
was no
Yeah.
way to, for them to see,
right.
how fantastic that was.
They're like
But no,
cool.
yeah,
Yeah.
I spent a lot of money on a banner one time, like a
Hmm.
professional banner that you'd use at a trade show that you roll up, and
Oh sure.
it's been in my basement for years.
Yeah.
Yeah, never had a
Yeah,
need for it.
I had something like that too. We did something at Costco one time. It was like a partnership with some kind of fundraising, where we had our banner up, and we got no calls from that. But you know what? One thing we did do that did fare pretty well was more than like just a print thing. Was I used to speak at like Merrill Lynch and those companies. They would do like these one night a week presentation of certain topics for their investors. And
Yeah.
somehow we got on that little chain there. And I used to go and like present on the iPad. And I'm like, here's how you
Hmm.
can use your iPad for home and work use. And I would like present to like a room of like, maybe 20 people or something. But inevitably something came out of that here and there, just
Nice.
Nice.
but that was probably the best. Anything else didn't really work for us, honestly.
Yeah.
What about you, Joe?
Yeah, it's hit or miss. Yeah, no, same. I mean, I did in the very, very early days, I did I think it was just a classified ad, or it might have been an actual like newspaper ad. Yeah, I don't think it was a classified ad. I think it was like a, whatever the smallest thing they would sell, like a little tiny little square. And it just had like my company name before my current company name and like my phone number. And I didn't even know if I had a website at that time, honestly, or like or an email. It was probably, if anything, it was my Mac.com email. I mean, it was like very early days. And I thought nothing ever came of it. And then there was one day, it was like a year or two later, and I've told the story on the show before, but I went to a client and I didn't realize how she had found me. And I see posted up on her like bulletin board behind her computer was my little ad. And that client referred me to, I don't think we still work with her, or haven't worked with her in probably 5+ years, but she referred us to like a business that we ended up working with for a very long time. So, it's all it takes, right? As they say, if you have an ad and you think you get no calls, you get one call, it turns into a paying client. I mean, it paid for the ad certainly, and then some, so it was
Right.
worth it in that sense, but it's hit or miss. You never
Used to be called Little Joe's Computing, right?
Right.
Wow.
Remember the bar? This is a regional reference, but you guys remember the Bargain News?
Yeah, that I haven't heard that name in a really long time. Yeah. The Bargain News. I
I
remember the
remember
name.
penny
It was
savers.
like a newspaper specifically like classifieds and like local
Exactly, and
stuff.
cars. But you
Yeah.
could, put an ad in the Bargain News, and people would pick it up
Yep.
weekly, and they would
Yes.
sell it at convenience stores, and it
Yep.
was heavily traded here in the
Yeah.
Connecticut area. Penny
I've told-
saver, right?
Penny saver, sure. I've
That
told
was, I
some of
used to
my
deliver the penny savers.
wow. See, you could have just stuck your ad right in there, and
We
I
could
was
put
a
a
little young at the time.
Yeah.
I wasn't
We could put
like working for HCS and delivering penny savers.
and delivering papers.
Make
Yeah, no,
ends meet.
I know.
You know
That
how
was the
like
joke.
sometimes too, where like people will put up their business card on these tack
Yes.
bulletin boards. Have
Yeah,
you ever
totally.
guys
I've
gotten
done that.
anything from that?
I've done that. I've definitely gotten clients. I had
Really?
so I had actually not well, I probably put a few business cards up the same way, but I had like a just letter size paper, and it had little tear off phone numbers on the bottom, maybe phone number and email or website or company name and phone. And it was a brief little thing about, I help with your Mac, whatever. I don't even know what I said. And I would stick that up at the local, like, small little mercantile type place or small grocery store. I put one up
Pet
in the
rescue
local,
shelter.
the community college was another one. I don't know what made me think of that. I think I was taking classes there and I thought, oh, there's a bulletin board. Let me stick up my thing here.
Yeah.
So yeah, like local market, local community college. And I did get calls from both of those. I have a client that works with me to this day that, pulled my little number off of there 21 years ago. Same thing with the community college. I picked up a few clients that way. So this stuff does work. It's like you just have to think about where people are going to, just glance up and see your ad and think, oh yeah, maybe I still notice people like that in town in a coffee shop. They advertise piano lessons or, therapy or like different things like that. Some are pretty off the wall. Some are like services you use every day. So yeah, you just, throw it up there.
It's funny. My son plays guitar and he's been putting up guitar lesson flyers at like
Nice.
the local markets. And it occurred to me, he didn't put like how old he was or anything like that. He's 16. And I guess some woman, I think in her 40s or 50s, was looking to learn guitar and like called him up and he's like, what do I do? He's like, do I go over there? I'm like, I'm not really sure, man. Like,
Yeah.
it was just kind of funny. He's like, do I tell her how old I am? Like,
Right.
I was like, it's probably a good idea to, like I'm in high school, I'm, doing my
Right.
first lesson. It didn't go anywhere, but it was kind of funny.
That's a good point. Cause if they're expecting like a seasoned, like
Yeah.
professional, like with like a lot of like touring, credentials and like studio recording credits and thing, and then like your son shows up. It's
Yeah.
like, yeah.
He's like, I need a ride.
High school
I
kid.
Because
Yeah.
he doesn't have a license yet. So I think he's like, I got to ask my mom if I could get a ride. And she's like, wait, what?
Yeah. Wait, huh? Yeah. Oh man. That's funny.
But
you got to start somewhere, right?
yeah,
You got to start somewhere. Yeah.
But in terms of what we were talking about there with the flyers and stuff like that, what I did a couple times that worked is we used to have some tag sales. Sometimes we had extra stuff in the house, and I put my flyer like on the table, and we got a couple of clients that way actually, where people were like, back then you would rip off a piece of paper, like with your number on it, or with your email address, and yeah, we got a couple of calls from that. Nothing big, but everything is possible to work. It's just how much effort you want to put into it.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I mean, I figure why not? Especially, if you're just starting out and you're looking to get some clients, to me that's like just the kind of wild card factor, the random factor. Like if you're just,
Yeah.
if you stick something up on a wall somewhere, yeah, like I said, it's hit or miss, but like the randomness is kind of interesting. Like you might get someone who ends up being a perfect fit, and they just found you on some random way like that. That's how I got a lot of those initial clients that sustained me for a lot of years. Versus like, these days everybody thinks about digital and highly targeted. The more you know about your potential clients, the more you can like target that specific market and, and
Yeah.
their pre-qualified leads and all this stuff. And you have a sales funnel and it's like, yeah, but don't overcomplicate it. Like people just need to know that they can pick up the phone and try to call you and see if it sounds like a fit. I mean, it doesn't
Yeah.
have to all be digital through Google AdWords and whatever else. So, yeah.
Yeah, the market is definitely changing. I mean, one of the points I was going to make, and then I'll riff on this, is that I think all of us now are at a price point where if we did have the little tear off, as soon as we told them what our hourly rate was, they would be like,
Yeah.
It's a
"What?"
good point. It's probably a good point.
So
Yeah.
Yeah.
but if you're just starting out and you're just trying to build up some sort of a customer base, it's certainly a good thing. The other thing I
Right.
was going to mention was, and I just lost the thread. Please.
While you're thinking, that's actually a really interesting point. It reminds me of Sam's son just starting out. So like the method of advertising,
Mhm.
may signal like something about your company, or certainly your ad, says a lot about you. If it's in the default font, and it's just kind of like some text and whatever, like that says
Could be
something
Comic
versus,
Sans.
yeah, or maybe you switch it to Comic Sans, but versus like you have this professional, polished looking advertisement, and you can still strike a balance between those. You can still advertise in these ways that you're on a bulletin board. It signals that you're just trying to get the thing kind of started and you're just getting off the ground. But it can look polished and show that you have attention to detail, or you have a clear aesthetic, kind of eye for things, and so yeah, but that's a really good point that probably that's not where we're getting most of our clients these days
Right.
because of the price point we're at.
The market has changed, and this is what I was going to bring up earlier, is that um, I would still like to think that I'm optimized on Google for organic search. So if you put in, Mac Consulting Connecticut, we're going to come up on the first page. And it used to be that I would get, a certain frequency of calls. And I don't think a lot of times when people say, oh, we're not getting the business anymore, they immediately run out for a web redesign. And I really don't think that, even though I haven't redesigned my web and set my web page in 7 or 8 years, I really don't think it's that far behind where everything kind of goes. And I don't think if I spent thousands of dollars to have somebody create it, or if I spent the time, it would make any one iota of difference in me getting calls. But I'm not getting the frequency of calls, the volume of calls that I used to get. There's just like, and I've shared with you guys some of my Smith AI, who is answering my phone for me, some of the statistics, and I don't know what it is. I think, maybe there's so much competition online for eyeballs and stuff like
Yeah.
that. And, maybe people are using Facebook, or maybe people are using Instagram, but I've shared on this show before that I dabbled my toe in both of these because I think they're a colossal ripoff for people to spend money on Facebook or Instagram, because there's no way they can verify their metrics. They can show you that you've gotten this many engagements,
Right.
and these many people liked your stuff, and these people a lot of times are not even in the same part of the world that
Right.
you're in.
Yeah.
Even if you can, you can target it regionally and say, like, I only want the United States, I only want the Northeast, specifically Connecticut. No matter what you do, I have had very little proof that there's any reason to spend any money there. So I don't know how a business that's been in business for a long time does jump tech companies and moves to another company, other than like you say, getting a referral from the Apple store or somebody who's really Mac specific. How they find these people. And a lot of times we've all encountered this, where we get a client who sends out an inquiry and they're just working with jokers, like people who are not on the ACN list.
Yeah.
they got maybe one guy on staff. Well, he's our Mac expert. And,
Yeah.
you don't know this person from Adam. And not that you would, but Connecticut's a small enough state where we kind of know the players, the cast of characters that sort of like rub their elbows and are out there hungry for that Mac business.
Who we would consider the legitimate choices for something like that.
Yeah, or a viable choice. A
Yeah.
lot of times, I'm not going to poo-poo some company that I know has been around a long time and they're PC specialists, but I'm not going to necessarily say like, yeah, they know Mac. And, I lost a very good medical client who was sort of on again and then off again. And then we went back to him for a little bit and then he dropped us again. And he has a company that's managing them and he's got Macs. They're going to in this particular case, their EMR system is web-based. So it's less dependent on having successful operating Macs, as long as the thing can open a browser and get to their EMR system and print the documents or whatever. There's less specificity on people needing Macs in the way that we used to see it.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I mean, right, because they're pretty reliable. Like also, like, I mean, in general, you just buy a Mac and you could probably, I mean, I see it. I see clients who haven't updated in like literally half a year or ever, and it's running the version of macOS that it shipped with a year later. And they just, like proudly proclaim they never do updates or whatever. And it actually keeps working. It's like, what? So they can be very reliable, especially when most things people do is, quote, in the cloud, as Sam's clients point up, and so it's like, it's Google Docs, it's gmail.com, it's the EMR that's online in the cloud, quote unquote. So yeah, I mean, they can get by with somebody who doesn't really know the Mac. That's a good point.
It's deceiving though too, because it seems to work so well and all that stuff, they don't know that anything can hit them at any time. And
that's
unfortunately, true. And I'm sure we've talked about this many times, but like they have to have a lesson learned for that has to happen. And almost, I know there are services like Know-Before and all these that are like try and trick them into like but I feel like there should be some sort of more severe thing that you can do with maybe owner's approval or something.
I got an idea. Let's start a company where we do like that user training, like phishing training, right?
Yeah.
But we actually take the money out of their account and we keep it.
That sounds legit.
Yeah. It's like I'm sorry, this is for your own good. There's no way that you will learn this lesson unless I just keep your money that I took out of your account. You just have to better me than some hacker in Russia. I mean, so, aren't you?
You had like this legit idea. You're like, hold on, I got this idea. I want to hear what Joe has to say here.
No, but I mean, we should honestly spitball this. I'm not suggesting that we actually go and take money out of people's accounts, but like to your point about like some people don't, I mean, they have to lose data, they have to lose money, they have to lose, or they don't learn their lesson. There are some people also who have lost data and have not learned their lesson. They also exist. I've spoken with one recently. Maybe not, but yeah, maybe there's a service where they can think that they, I clearly am not going to take money from their account, but like they can have, it's like these phishing services should maybe put an email in their inbox that looks like it went out to everyone in the company from their account or something. You know what I mean? Like, so that didn't actually happen, but they are afraid that it did for at least a moment where they can viscerally feel like, okay, I really need to get serious about security. Like, I definitely don't want that. I'm glad that wasn't real, and I'm not going to make that mistake.
Something honey, like I left fire drill. Go ahead, Jerry.
Yeah, honey, I lost the payroll.
Yeah.
Sam, where's your traffic coming from in terms of new clients? Are they Apple referrals or?
It's been quiet lately, but it's been organic for the most part. Like we got one from Jamf, actually, interestingly enough, not too long ago, where I don't know, it just so happened they needed some help and they reached out to us, which was nice. But yeah, Apple's always trying for, I know we've joked about different things with the store relationships and things like that, but like, I feel like they are always trying. It's just not always, sometimes it's a great fit. Sometimes it's not so great of a fit. But it has been like that, like through either Apple or some kind of, I have a friend who met you, years
Yeah.
ago. But it's been quiet lately, Jerry, for new leads.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
like,
yeah. And I've shared this on the show years and years ago that, I used to go into the Apple store and feel like the ugly girlfriend or the ugly girl who wasn't picked for the prom, that, I couldn't possibly get the right time of day from anybody who was on the business team, ever.
Yeah.
And I stopped doing it years ago. I stopped doing it. And like, am I missing out? I don't know.
I am encouraged. Sorry, Jerry, go ahead.
No, I just think that Apple sometimes has initiatives where, they want to have the business team do more engagement. And the last thing they want to do a lot of times is like pass on the business to someone else. If they can do whatever they can, like get them working with Business Essentials and try to retain that relationship, I think they're more inclined to do that.
It might depend on the size of the customer too, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, I hear you there
The support they
too.
need.
Yeah.
The support they need. Apple's interest is selling hardware and services, mostly hardware. And so the business team wants to move boxes. I mean, obviously that's what any sales group will do. And so they will, and how do you move boxes? Well, if you have somebody in the store, you might sell some hardware. So to your point, they do have an incentive to invite, business customers to come back to the store and, come in for what they used to call the one-to-one sessions or whatever variety of sessions they have now where you can learn about iPhone photography or how to use, the Numbers app to run your business or use Business Essentials to manage your mobile devices or whatever it is. So they're going to have you come into the store like up until a point where that's not a good fit. Like if you're coming to the store and you're spending hours picking the brain of one of the, I don't know if they call them geniuses anymore, for support, that's not really Apple's business model. So, yes, to a point, they want them to come to the store and want to keep the relationship first party and direct with the client. But as soon as they're not really, as soon as the client outgrows, like to Sam's point, maybe the size of the client is too big or the types of questions or the technical debt is too high or whatever, they will refer them to the Apple Consultants Network. I mean, I think that's the main pathway right now. Apple Professional Services is another, level, especially if they're like probably hundreds and up kind of, size company. And so, or this type of gig they need or whatever. But just knowing that, all you can really do these days is be in the Apple Consultants Network locator and rank for that location, where the client might be coming from. And yes, to some degree, if you have a relationship with the person who's the business specialist or business, whatever the different titles are, someone on the business team, if they are aware of your company, they can potentially point the client toward your company among all the results on the locator and show you some favorable treatment, probably, whether that's just a personal thing or there's a formal process, I don't know. But that's a way to encourage leads to come your way. That's about all you can do, though, is just like hope then, So, yeah, I mean, show up to the store maybe so they know who you are. For me, I'm not anywhere near the stores that my clients are coming from. And my relationship with the business team is on the phone. And maybe sometimes through email. And that's usually, it takes the form of, we have a mutual client who needs a computer or 10 computers. And, that's on Apple's radar. And so, they're gonna work with you on that, and they're gonna maybe ask you a little bit about how you work and what you do and what kind of clients are a good fit for you. That's been my experience, and I will get the occasional lead that way. A lot of times it's a lot more random. They find me through the locator just organically. I shared the story recently on Patreon of a new client who came to me. I mean, all but pre-qualified by ChatGPT. It was kind of amazing. Like he got my info through the ACN locator by way of ChatGPT. And he had this dialogue with ChatGPT, like asking questions about how to get help with his Mac and whatever. And eventually ChatGPT said, hey, by the way, there's this thing called the Apple Consultants Network and there's this locator. And he found me that way and he was like ready to sign up. So
Dang.
That was an amazing, outcome. So, ChatGPT is a source of referrals, indirectly. But the idea of ranking on the locator is really the main source of anything, or like Sam said, existing clients.
Joe, did they tell you if they just got to ChatGPT, which then took them to the locator, or it took them to you on the locator?
I think it just brought them to the locator, and then they've put in their info, and I came up in the
Gotcha.
results.
All right.
Yeah,
Just wanted
yeah,
to
Yeah,
see
you
how
need
I
a
can
rep
get
in
above you in that.
Greens Farms there, Sam.
yeah.
Yeah, that's the Greens Farms location. Tricky.
Yeah, yeah, you need that.
Hey, that's where my clients are. That's where I started the company. It's where I've always been. And yeah, I don't know if they were in that neighborhood particularly or which, where they were, but yeah,
No, that's cool though. And all jokes aside, that's pretty
that
interesting.
works. Yeah.
I mean, I'd be curious to kind of put in stuff to Chat GPT and see how it gets me there. Like trying an organic conversation and see what
It's a
occurs.
good point. Ranking on Google is old fashioned now. It's about,
Mhm.
does the bot know about you,
Yeah,
or the many bots? That's
the
why you got
many
to treat you got to have a good relationship with AI, which Jerry, you have. Have you talked to AI about your business and referrals? Like you can ask it to send people your way, maybe. I don't know. How
Well,
does
I
that
mean,
work?
I don't know if that would work. It's like the
Yeah,
vanity searches that you would do with Google. So you'd have to
sure.
open up a private window, like with Google, you'd open up a private window and you'd probably get on a VPN.
Right.
yeah.
Maybe, in Connecticut or, somewhere
Oh,
close to
interesting.
really
Right.
see what it's doing for you. So I think if I opened up my Chat GPT,
Right.
I would get stilted data.
Yeah. Well, it knows who you are in
Yeah,
particular. And
yeah,
so, yeah, it
yeah.
would probably also tell you what you want to hear. Like, oh, yeah, I've
Right.
been
It's
sending
like,
lots of referrals your way. So, yeah, you
right.
know.
How's that
Uh,
relationship going, Jerry? Everything good there?
No,
yeah.
I got a better relationship with my bird. By the way, I got my flu shot. When you
Oh, is
get
that why
some
you're
flu,
rubbing your arm? Does it hurt?
my
Yeah.
yeah, I just noticed that. Yeah, and I went to get. I figured, well, I'd get a twofer. Here we go, Tim Pearson.
Yeah, this goes back to our conversation about because I feel like Sam, you were about to maybe say something. I don't know if I cut you off about ACN and maybe being a little more hopeful about things after the technical
Yeah,
summit. We can't talk about the content there, but we can say that we feel more hopeful from what we
Okay,
experienced there.
that's
that's
kind of
great
where
to
I was
hear.
gearing towards with that. Yeah, like
Yeah,
I see something that looks good for us that I'm hopeful for.
Okay.
yeah, yeah.
I'll stop there.
Yeah, same. Yeah, but again, just I mean, it's like the old recommendation of just you've got to be in the locator, so you've got to be a part of the ACN. Which, to your point earlier, Jerry, it's really funny that a lot of clients we inherit have no concept of like getting support through Apple, finding out about the
Mhm.
ACN or anything like that. They're working with someone who's definitely not in the locator, and who they may even just be a fly-by-night operation or like a Windows only company that agrees to the Mac and grumbles about it the whole time, and they seem to think that's their only option. Really, I mean, they don't even know to look elsewhere until they
It's
find
crazy.
their way. But yeah, that was one win recently from that. There was also one where a local a company we've known for a long time who does FileMaker support. I guess like needed has been working with who's a client who's now become our client for a long time, and they have internal IT, but he needed some help and got referred to us and was thrilled to find us as like this kind of backup for his internal protocols and things. So yeah, existing vendor client relationships, existing clients, and certainly through the Apple Consultants Network, those have been the best sources for us.
And of course, I go on the show and I always moan the blues, and I always kind of attribute it to regionally, I'm not demographically in the same area that you guys. And, I don't know how much of that really comes into play. It could be just my prickly personality.
No, I'm sure it's a big part of it because
Yeah.
there's
What,
stuff
his
we talk
prickly
about.
personality?
Yeah, yes, no.
Oh, okay.
No, there's stuff where like I realize that certain service offerings or certainly like pricing models and things work in certain areas of the country and like, don't work everywhere, and so it's that's definitely part of it is like
Mhm.
yeah, there's just
And when
probably
you guys
more
talk about
clients.
your particular Apple store, it's not my Apple store.
Yeah,
Right.
Right.
In
exactly.
my case, yeah.
Right.
Which is right on the Yale University campus and probably has a different profile than the Stanford,
That's a good
Connecticut
point
store.
too. I'm sure it's 90% students that are getting
Yeah.
support there, which is
Yeah.
not, your market. So, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's very important difference there. What's the other closest one to you, Jerry? Is that the
There's one up,
West Farms? Is that?
well, West Farms, yeah, up in
Yeah.
Farmington.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I know that like geographically where you are these days isn't necessarily as important, but it does play a role when someone's looking. I mean, it also depends on the business that they're in as well. Like if they want someone to come over and come by and do something, then it's going to play a huge role. But
Right.
if they know they can be supported almost completely remotely, then it's a little easier.
Well, it is a good point because I do feel like a lot of those referrals are still geographic. Although, like the client I mentioned, he's got like one computer somewhere out west, and he found us because of our location in Connecticut. But I've done support for him now exclusively remotely, and he's got an office out near closer to me, like that. So it's just, and I don't, and I'm not this location where I sit is not in the locator. So it's just, yeah, geographic, it's still like sends referrals our way, but it's not really that as relevant anymore.
Yeah. And of course, people
It's weird.
still read reviews if they do land on Google or
Yeah.
they do land on the ACN locator. So it really is important to try to engage with the client at the time of service. So
Yeah.
one thing that I've been meaning to talk about on the show, I don't have them to show, but for very inexpensive money, you can go on Amazon or you can go on uh, Alibaba and get an NFC size credit card, and you could program it to just completely to when they connect with the person's phone or their Mac,
Yeah.
it dumps them onto your review page. So even before you're out
Oh,
the door,
okay.
you could kind of like say once they've, let's say it's a one-off and you've
Yeah.
settled the bill, you could just
Hmm.
present this card and they click through and all of a sudden they're on the review page.
That's
And you
pretty
could say
nifty.
like, yeah, just like, sometimes it doesn't work because you just need to get out of there. Sometimes it go to your next appointment, but sometimes it does. Or,
Yeah.
you could draft up through ChatGPT a little thing like, it was a pleasure working with you. What really helps us
Hmm.
stay in business, or, word it a little bit more professionally than that is,
Yeah.
your feedback. So please take a moment to give us your feedback,
Yeah.
because
That
that
helps a lot. I need
does
some new
help a lot.
reviews. Yeah. I haven't been asking for reviews and I haven't received really any reviews of
Mhm.
late. And I know, I think I forget what the advice is. Like, you're not really supposed to target just happy customers or something, or like, you certainly don't want to ask people for a positive review, like according to Yelp or whatever, right? It's like you shouldn't try to filter this and screen this to be just positive. But of course, that's what we're going to do. I'm not going to ask a client who I know is not happy or, we parted ways with for a review, like on the way out the door, like, can you review us? But there's some clients that have come up recently that I know are very happy with us and probably would be happy to actually share that. Like, so that's a good, that's probably a good time to ask them, is to say like, hey, if you don't mind, it really helps us if you give us a review. So I have a blurb I can use. Do you do that, Sam? Do you care about reviews? Do you ask clients for reviews over the years?
I do care, but I always forget.
Yeah.
Um, and I probably should, while the relation, like, again, we have ongoing relationships as you do. So like, it'd probably be good when you're still in
Yeah.
the romance phase to kind of ask for that. And,
Exactly. It's a
they're
good
very
point.
happy to do so at the time. And
Right.
I don't know. But it's kind of interesting. I rarely will leave a negative review for
Yeah.
anything. I don't review a lot, to be honest, at all. But I
Yeah.
just left my own negative review for a car dealership. This is not to do with our business, of course, but like, I've been shopping for a car with my daughter and
Hmm.
we had a really awful experience. And I was like, that's it. Like, I posted a negative review, which I don't know. Like, I've tend to not do for, like, for a business, for a restaurant, for, let's say, maybe that's because I have friends. Jerry's not
In
here,
the
but I got a buddy
business.
that owns a restaurant.
Right.
And I feel very sensitive to that, where if someone's working hard and one
Yes.
person has a bad experience, I think that's tough. But
Right.
I feel a little bit differently about car dealerships.
Yeah.
But anyway, side note to that, it's just brought me down that side. But going back to your question, I don't ask for it a lot. And there was a time when I did, and I
Hmm.
think I just kind of gave up on it. I just
Hmm.
stopped caring, but
Interesting.
I probably
Yeah.
should care about it more.
Well, there's a couple of reasons I think I asked, because I had a client, one or two clients recently comment that they like went, again, they found me through the locator, they ended up on my website, right? they actually remarked that we looked at a few websites and we liked yours. Like we liked the impression we got about your company from your website. And I have some client testimonials, like a little one sentence, kind of snippet there, of things that people have said about me, about Tim, about my company in general. And I think that does, if you quote them on your website, because they're going to, they're probably going to end up on your website. If they're going to call you or contact you, they're going to get to your website probably first.
Yeah.
And so like that's a good place to highlight some of those reviews. I also have this little Squarespace, feature thing where it's like this like little wavy, it's like just this text that flies by in the one column on the right. And it, shows like one word kind of like adjectives that people have said about us, whatever. So again, you have to just put the like humility aside and just, be self-promotional. That's the whole point of this exercise. And somebody gets to your website, they want to know how they're going to feel about working with you. And so you have some words that people have said about you, and that's the kind of an impression you can give your potential clients about how it might be to work with you. So I have those, I have those one-off words, series of words that fly by. Yeah. And then I have some little testimonials and a page where they can click through. I have not updated that in a little while. And so it's a reminder to me to, maybe ask for some more feedback to be posted to the ACN locator. That's probably the number one place. I think I want to have that, but also Google and Yelp, I think, are the two others that we typically like we have in our little snippet of review requests. And then from there, pull out some new ones potentially for their website, because I think that's, I don't know if websites seem old school or something at this point, but that's, I think, like one of the first things or only things that people might see about you. So when you're trying to screen for new clients or get people going back to your site, Jerry, do you feel like, or do you have a sense of like, are people landing on your website and just not picking up the phone, or is there much less traffic going to your website? Like, do you have a sense of, is it working for you? Like you want that to be, I hate to use a marketing term, a sales funnel. You want that to people who land on the site, what's their next action? They should really call you and say, hey, here's what's going on, right? Or email you.
Yeah, I mean, there's certainly ways that you could track that with Google Analytics that I used to pay a lot more attention to that, and pay it. It doesn't mean like, oh, he's not paying attention to it. Now he's not getting the calls. It's like, I would just look at it. I wouldn't necessarily arrive at any conclusions, but sometimes, people will be on your website for like 12 seconds. But it's not necessarily telling either, because, they could be looking for an iMac repair or something like that. So there's really no way of ultimately knowing. So no, Joe, I haven't paid attention to that in a long time. Speaking of Google reviews, it can also work to your disadvantage. I got a 1 star. This is my most recent review put up 4 weeks ago. I shared it with you guys. And
the wrong company though.
He said, this company is incompetent and only want to get paid. Well, that's fair criticism.
We do want to get paid.
Our phone system has not worked properly since we moved in 2 months ago. They said that's what you signed up for. So I have no idea who this guy is. We don't do phone systems,
right?
And so you could, as the owner, you can put a reply. So my reply was, and this was, thank you, ChatGPT. We have no record of ever performing any work for you, and our company does not install or service phone systems. This review does not reflect any actual interaction with our business and appears to be a case of mistaken identity or fake review. We take the accuracy of online reviews seriously and respectfully request that this be removed. Of course, Google in its infinite wisdom never removed it. So
really?
I'm going to report it again.
So you can reply as the owner, but you have to also report it to like request that they take it down or something.
Exactly.
Can the user, if they see it, can they take it down? Can they delete it?
They can. Yeah.
Yeah. So they just need to see that and be like, whoops, my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's rough.
Yeah.
I realized as you were telling your story, Sam, about leaving a negative review for the car dealership, because oftentimes that feels like one of our only recourses with any of this stuff. It's like you have a bad experience, you at least you want to report it. I think I'm more inclined to leave a negative review about a product rather than a service. And certainly more inclined to leave a positive review about a service. If I have a particularly good experience, and I feel like in the service business, we have like a good perspective on that. Like I can evaluate the quality of a service offering pretty well because I know like what I try to do for my clients and what I, the kinds of like support we get from other vendors and other service providers that we have to coordinate with as the business we're in. So if I have an experience where they follow up and they do what they say and they charge a reasonable rate and all those things, like I'm more inclined to report that versus like, yeah, I may not report a negative interaction if it's just kind of like par for the course these days or something, if it's about a service, I think.
Yeah.
But I'm more inclined to say it about a product, I guess. I
If
don't know if that's, yeah.
the local business, I don't touch it. If it's
Yeah.
negative, I don't even want to go there.
Yeah, no, I was telling Joe this like a moment ago too. Like I think this particular situation felt very bait and
Yeah, it was
switchy and shady.
your car
okay.
dealership.
So
but
that's the reason I kind of wanted to ward off other people and be like, don't go
Right.
here for that reason. It wasn't just like a salesperson had a bad day, because those types of things can happen. You have a bad interaction, the personality is different. That's one thing, but this was like a practice that this dealership followed, and I really disagreed with it heavily. So
they're all mafia though, Sam. You're kind of like,
Yeah, you're playing with fire now.
Yeah.
we'll see.
It'd be a shame if all your tires were deflated when you woke up
Right.
in the morning because they were cut with a knife.
It'd be a shame if something should happen to your fingers and you weren't able to leave another bad review in the future. Yeah.
That's why I have Siri, boys.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Then that's it. That's your only recourse. Oh man, yeah. I don't know. I kind of feel like I should leave more positive and negative reviews as they happen, to just do my part. Cause that's like you said, you don't want someone else to fall prey to the same like problem, but
do you guys mind I know we're wrapping up here soon, but if I just switch gears for one quick second?
Go for it.
All right. Make it quick though.
Why, you got something, Jerry?
No, we got another
We got 7
20
minutes.
17 minutes.
Yeah. We might go short.
It's gonna be a shorter one.
Short.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
So
you got to build in. Excuse me, Sam. You have to build in enough time for the show afterward that I was gonna show you, but Joe left early.
Oh yeah. Well, we'll talk about that later. But no, I just had this little memory in my head about this guy that we had a client that had one kind of offshoot person that worked for the owner. He was kind of not an employee, but helping the owner with a project. So he got a PC for him and it wasn't maintained by us and all this stuff. So it was bad practice all around. We were like, probably shouldn't do that. Anyway, they've ended on bad terms. So, or not so great terms, I'll say. So the owner's like, I want his computer wiped because we bought it. I'm like, well, I now can't do that remotely because you didn't let us manage it, or we didn't roll it in. So we had to coordinate with the person to wipe the computer, and he was aware of it. So that was okay. But I called him and I'm like, all right, so they want the computer wiped. He's like, all right. Yeah, I know. They said something. I'm like, all right. So just so you know, the computer we're going to set this is going to be a reset command, and it's going to be like it came out of the box for the very first time. No data on it. He's like, okay, got it. He's like, but I'll still have my OneDrive, right? And I'm like, no. I'm like, we're going to erase it. So if you think of it, if you go to the store and you pick it up for the first time, none of your stuff is on there. He's like, oh, okay. So I start going through the process. He's like, what about my apps? I'm like, okay, dude. I'm like, this goes on a few different times. And I'm like, no, it will all be gone. So, and this is company data. And I'm trying to keep my cool with him, Yeah. So anyway, ultimately, the reset failed. It wasn't working. Like it's in the Windows side, you can say reset this PC and erase all my data. And it failed a few times. So I was like, listen, I got to call you back. I don't have time to finish this. We'll figure this out tomorrow. So then I decided a different route I was going to take. So I call him back the next day. He's free. And he's like, I tried it like 12 more times after we hung up and it didn't work. I'm like, yeah, after the first couple, don't keep doing that.
Right.
I'm like, all right. So we give this another try, and I'm like, we're gonna go about it this way. He's like, okay. He's like, I just got one question. He's like, what about my bookmarks? And I'm
Oh my
like,
God.
I'm like,
He's trolling you. There's no way that's real.
no, this guy is really so dumb. I was like, you're not for real. And I'm like, oh, I couldn't. I spent like another 15 minutes on the phone. I was like, I slacked Matt. I'm like, you're gonna have to take this one. I'm like, I just can't. Like, I can't handle this personality. I can't handle the
Oh my God.
stupidity. I just
Yeah,
can't.
yeah.
So
That's
we
someone
ended up
who's like
hanging out
not
for
paying attention, right? They're just not
just
even listening at a certain point.
over and
Yeah.
over and over again. It's just
Yep.
Wow.
Jeez.
unbelievable. So I had to share that with you guys because it was
That's
just driving me
hilarious, man.
bonkers.
Yeah.
Anyway,
Ay, ay, ay. Well, I got no segue from that, but I got two more little
Sorry.
things to wrap us up. No, it's always good because we can all relate to the story of the client who is just not getting it and maybe probably doing 5 other things and not paying attention to the call
Yeah,
that they
exactly.
scheduled. Yeah. So this comes up all the time. This is not a new issue. Oh man. Okay. Sorry. I have to highlight this. Mike Kingsley said the exact thing that I was going to joke earlier. Like, well, surely I'm going to have my deleted items at the end of this, right? Yeah. He
Call
says,
back
what
to
about
Joe's
what
story.
about the trash folder? Yeah. Oh my God, that's exactly right. Oh man, I was waiting for you to say that. Like, I'm gonna have my trash, right? Like, that's Mike picked up on that. I love it. Okay, so yeah, switching gears back to Unify. We were talking about them in just a previous show. This happens all the time. Multiple disconnections on WAN 1, right? You get these reports, or
Yeah.
you get the down alert and then you get the up alert. Or the other thing is like the internet is dropping packets or whatever they say, like high latency, right? So these things happen all the time. Like you don't know who to blame. Is it the ISP that's actually like having interruptions? A lot of times it seems like it's at night that this happens, like in the middle of the night. Maybe the modem reboots or something. Maybe, okay, good. Unify detected that. That would make sense.
Yeah.
But we don't really know if that's actually true or not. So I'm curious if you guys have tried this, or any listeners out there live or later. Have you seen the fact that you can create a custom SLA? SLA, I guess, service level agreement. That's the
Yeah.
classic term, but I guess Unify is using this to determine like the method of testing to see if the connection is up or how long to wait, etc. Did you know you could do this? I didn't. This is
Really?
brand new to me that you can actually do this. Yeah. So, okay, so you can go into settings and then internet, which is where you'd expect to find this. But then if you
Is
just
this on
scroll
the
down,
test?
yeah, it's going to be on the test. I
Okay.
will be checking later. So you do not click on the specific, internet connection, like your local ISP or whatever it is. You just go to settings, internet, and you scroll down to WAN mode, that section where you see if you have 2 WAN connections or whatever, the failover mode. There's a section that says, there's a
Huh.
button, create new SLA. Okay. It's
Look
like,
at that.
oh, cool. And yeah, so instead of leaving it on auto, which is the Unify method, you can do a number of things. So this person on Reddit suggested that their method to work around this Unify issue, where okay, they're getting apparently false reports of the connection dropping. Their method is to do 3 different things: ping google.com, so just see if you get a response from Google, a ping response. Use a DNS resolve to resolve google.com using 8.8.8.8, and then also resolve google.com using 8.8.4.4. Or maybe take your pick. You could use 1.1.1.1 for Cloudflare if you want to mix and match your DNS upstream providers. But you can basically add like an SLA that does all 3 of those things and specify that all have to fail before it reports the internet as being down, because obviously if any one of those succeeds, you are unfact online. Like whether google.com responds to a ping or not, if 8.8.8.8 resolves google.com, like you are sending packets upstream and downstream, so you're online. So really all 3 of those have to fail for it to go down, and they haven't seen any false alerts since doing that. So
And you're getting bombarded with reports that these accounts are going down. Is that why?
I'm not bombarded, but there's certain connections that seem to regularly report this, and we're assuming it's a false alarm. But the client has also reported, yeah, the connection goes down sometimes, and I have to reboot the modem. So it's not clear, like if he's having to reboot the modem every time we get a report or, whatever. Like, so I
Mhm.
would like to have a better, more reliable indicator of whether the connection is actually going down or not.
Joe, this is a
Um,
good pro tip, man. I
yeah,
like
I
this.
thought so. I was like, I can't believe because I didn't know this was built in. I thought I'd have to
I
do some
never
command
knew.
line stuff and whatever,
Yeah.
but yeah.
But
This is
do
awesome.
you put any gravity on that little bar that shows you sometimes when it's dodgy, it goes orange or tan
Yeah,
color?
that's
Yeah.
a good point. I would imagine that that would correlate that little orange bar or whatever
Mhm.
with those reports. Um, you know, but neither like it should all be green if you're if this new SLA like is much more, what like is it fall
Liberal,
yeah,
liberal.
liberal, like also like there's I didn't explore this yet because I just wanted to talk about it first, but I wonder if you can set a response time and whatever. So the other thing I'll tie into this was Uptime Robot as we wrap up here. Uptime Robot has the ability to like wait before sending you the email. Like so
Mhm.
it'll say like, okay, if it doesn't respond to a ping or whatever your method is, for 1 minute or 2 minutes or 5 minutes. Like that's one thing. Sure, you can say, or I'm sorry, you can say check every 5 minutes or check every 10 minutes or one
Right.
minute or whatever. So yeah, sure, maybe you don't check as often, or maybe you still want to check frequently, but you can actually go into the settings where you specify the what it does if it detects a failure, whether an SMS message or an email message or a push notification or whatever. In that section, you can say, wait this amount of time before sending the email or the SMS. So maybe you send the email, but not the SMS or whatever. But that's really useful because a lot of times I'm getting these, otherwise, I'm getting a thing that says, internet's down, internet's back up. It was down for 1 minute and 42 seconds. I'm like, I don't care if it's back up within 2 minutes. So this is how you avoid hearing about it right in the
Mhm.
first minute because
Yeah,
that'll
cut down the noise.
cut down the noise on the false alarms. So
Now, with that service line agreement in place for your
yeah,
intranet, it doesn't spit out a report. You're not getting the email then if you have one of these action that are in
well,
play.
that's correct. If it's only down for a minute or a minute and a half or whatever, and I say wait 2 minutes, yeah, I'm not getting any report of that. However, I
Yeah,
think it
not
does. It
not
shows
the
up in
robot.
your.
Yeah,
Oh, sorry. In
not
the
the uptime robot. In
in
this,
the
it just
Unify.
yeah.
Yeah,
Let's say you didn't have that.
yeah,
I mean, I would assume
yeah.
they
Then
would
you should.
still log it. You're just not getting alerted,
Right.
right?
Well, wait, in Unify, yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, I would say like if you change the SLA to this one that pings Google, resolves Google using two different DNS resolvers, if all three fail and there's an actual outage, of course you're going to get the report and it's down and it's going to be in the little like bar graph thing, whatever. Um, but if one of these is up, it's up. So you're not going to hear about
Mhm.
that.
No,
So I
no.
guess you're saying, yeah, go ahead.
I think what he's asking, maybe correct me if I'm wrong, is you won't hear about it, but it should still at least log it, right? Like if you go and look at the logs in Unify.
Oh, maybe. Like, so in the sense of like, oh, your modem is dropping packets or your modem went
Mhm.
offline. Yeah, you probably still like those what seem like false alarms a lot of the time. Those may still
I'm just
be,
curious. I mean,
be
I'd be
noted.
happy
It's a
to
good
to
question.
see less
Yeah.
noise, but that's
Right. Right.
Mike Kingsley also reported in the chat. Actually, he knows about this feature and he tested it on his home network so far, but not yet for for the clients. Um, yeah, I'm curious if anyone out there else is using this, if it has fixed that problem. Because again, these alerts, these false alarm alerts, are annoying. But is there a downside, like to Jerry's point about maybe you don't find out if there is kind of a systemic issue with the modem that drops regularly or whatever, even though because the new SLA might wait longer and like it gets a response, then it doesn't log the fact that it took a minute for Google to, reply to a ping or something.
hmm. I'm gonna play around with this feature though, because I think this could be
Yeah.
very useful. Because I have a few specific locations that are just giving me these false flags a lot.
Yeah,
Mhm.
Not
exactly.
false, but exactly
Well,
what you're talking
but
about.
that's the thing. I think some of them are false. I think that
Yeah.
that's also just a false alarm. Like in other words, it might be that Google's or Unify's default SLA like test is down sometimes. Like if they're just,
Yeah.
if it's like ping.unify.com or whatever, like ping.ui.com, I think something like that, that may just stop responding in the middle of the night when every single, you know, um, test is running on all time zones, or somebody has, if enough people have like some particular method of doing something, that might result in like it's slow to respond at that hour. I don't know. So
Yeah.
it could be their problem and not our local ISP even. Yeah, Stefan Oberly says that Unify is getting better every month, especially with their firewall. I will agree that I feel like they have been, like, I've been liking the improvements I've been seeing from Unify just in general. It seems stable, and the interface is useful. I've been happy with them.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely major improvements over the vast amount of time that we've been using them. But I like the innovation on the new products and everything. So I'm really happy with Unify.
Yeah. I guess something we'll circle back on another show. Just to note, this came up on a recent, I think it was a Patreon show about AI note taking and environmental impact. Benjamin Morales kind of just flagged this to have a discussion. I thought it was an interesting angle, because maybe we all start to use these tools just kind of willy-nilly and don't think twice about it. And it's a new type of tool. Like, when the internet first came out, I don't think we were thinking about like environmental impact. We were just Googling stuff. I mean, that
Right.
was after the internet had already come out. But anyway, the point is, like, a lot of these tools just get adopted, and there isn't really as much of an environmental impact, or maybe a linear, impact that you might expect with heavier use of energy and things. But with AI in particular, also with cryptocurrency, it seems like there's a very high, or with Bitcoin in particular, there's a really high like impact to the energy usage of these things. And in order to provide enough data centers to run all this, infrastructure, they take a lot of power and a lot of water to cool them, et cetera. And it's there's a real environmental impact from all that. So I think it's worth having that conversation at some point soon.
I am in full agreement with that. I would like to, first of all, learn more myself about that too, so I can speak, better about it. But I think that's a very interesting point that he brought up. It really sparked my curiosity.
Yeah, and there may be alternatives like running local models on your own hardware, which uses energy locally, but not in a data center, which draws much more power more intensely, and also the privacy benefits of running it locally as well. So
Yeah.
seems like there's definitely some options there. Well, thanks everybody for listening to another fine episode of Command Control Power. We really appreciate you showing up for our live recordings. Our patrons have that as a benefit, so thanks. Good to see you all. And we appreciate everybody listening week after week. And again, thanks for supporting us on Patreon. If you'd like to join our esteemed colleagues on Patreon to support us and get access to all the extra content that we post there in a private podcast feed, go to commandcontrolpower.com and click on support. And thanks everybody for listening. See you next week.
Bye.
I don't have reactions. I think we should be off the air. Wow. It still says ending stream.
Told you.
An error occurred. Wait a moment and try again. That's
Now we're
so
live
weird.
forever.